My name is Cheryl Thomas. I'm joined tonight by Rebecca Castellano on behalf of the School Counseling Department. Welcome to our Junior Night College Information presentation. The purpose of tonight's presentation is to provide information and resources to families and students throughout the post-high school transition process. So the purpose and goals of tonight in discussing the process, we want to make sure you have an intimate understanding of the process. We want to help to define and clarify student responsibilities and roles, as well as the role of the parent in the process. We want to help how you can most efficiently work with your school counselor. We want to discuss future programs and opportunities that are available to students and families. And we want to be able to help you ask clarifying questions on the presentation or something that we may not have mentioned. We are now beginning to jumpstart the college process with our students. We want to talk about the different ways that we communicate with students and families. We use a great variety of platforms and modalities to help get information to students and families. A great guide that we've used in the past and has really worked very well is our College Admissions Handbook that can be found at our pleasantvilleschools.org website on the high school page under counseling. We also use a Schoology page that we created for the class of 2025 to give you many updates and opportunities on programs that we have. We also have scheduled meetings with the school counselor and students in March, and through the spring and the fall, we continue to have these conversations and meetings. We also are going to be discussing our newest platform, SchoolLinks, that we have launched this year, and we will also talk about other resources that we have available to students and families. In discussing the junior and senior year planning calendar, if you look at the College Admissions Handbook, they have a nice planning calendar in there that kind of helps you and gives you a great timeline. It separates junior and senior year and breaks down month by month the different events and happenings of each month. And I think that that's really helpful. There's also a lot of information on different admission plans, so you can familiarize yourself with that before you start the process. It has a whole section on helping students to figure out what they're looking for in a college, factors used for admissions consideration, the process of visiting colleges, tips on the application and the essay, recommendations, standardized testing, and so much more. So I do suggest you take a look at that. Our school counseling website has a wealth of information for students and families on college and postgraduate information, standardized testing, college interview, workshops, the college recommendation packet that we use to write recommendations for students, and college visitation forms. So definitely looking at our website is another place to go when you have questions and concerns. We also have the Schoology course for the class of 2025 that has lots of really great information as well on programs, scholarship opportunities, college fairs, reminders of events, and many, many more. We also have implemented an Instagram page. So if you're not currently following us, please do so at Pville_school counseling. And that's just another way to communicate and remind students and families of different upcoming programs and events that we have here at the high school. I am now going to introduce Rebecca Castellano, who will talk about SchoolLinks and the other bits of information that we have in this presentation.
Good evening, everybody. So thank you all for joining us. I know that junior year is a time where everybody talks about how hard it is. And I think the hardest part is about juggling all the different pieces that make up our junior year. So let me introduce you to SchoolLinks. All students, all juniors, in fact, have already been introduced to SchoolLinks and have uploaded and created accounts. So that happened in October as we were setting ourselves up for the PSAT. At the end of January 29th, we will go back into classrooms specific into the social studies classes to work with juniors to help them learn the different features that are relevant to college searches, as also to create lists that students can then work off of as they start searching for schools. So the idea right now for junior year is to explore as much as you can. Resources could be those that we provide via SchoolLinks or the college reps that come to campus, but also they're your community resources. Talk to your friends, talk to your families, look at those guides in Princeton Review, take a look at niche. All of that is okay and good information to have. What we end up doing then is going back into Schoollinks to use this tool to continue to explore these opportunities and these options. So Schoollinks did replace Naviance, which we all worked with a few years ago, and has been a wonderful asset to the students and to the school counseling department because it really centralizes all the work that we do. So juniors, we will be working with you in your classes on the 29th of January to go ahead and learn more about the program and the different features of it. In March, we will be meeting with all juniors individually. Those meetings are set up to be anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour because we're going to be doing a lot of work to not only update and review your graduation requirements, making sure that you've got everything that you need for the rest of this year and into next year. We're going to preview your transcript as well as your GPA. That GPA is not going to be formed until the end of junior year, after the finals are in there and after the report cards are set up. So we're going to take a look at what your current GPA is, which is those first 2 years, and we can give a rough estimate as to what that final GPA could look like. And that's going to help set you up in terms of what colleges are looking for and where you can kind of pinpoint yourself on those maps. We'll be talking about final course selections for senior year. It's an opportunity to keep doing the good work that you have been doing for the last 3 years, and when appropriate, when interested, also maybe taking that academic risk into classes that maybe you wouldn't have done prior, like that AP class, but that as a senior, you may want to go ahead and do. We always work towards balance with students. We want to make sure that you're working hard, but not overwhelmed. The important part about setting up a senior year schedule is that whatever you start is what you have to finish. So setting yourself up for senior year is about having a thoughtful and balanced course load. We will be doing more work with Schoollinks during our senior meetings, and then we will also be taking a look at whether or not you should be taking standardized tests such as SATs and ACTs. Now, those continue to be optional for the majority of colleges and universities that students are applying to, and depending on the student, depending on the programs, it's something that we may recommend, something that you might want to take a look at. And there's still ample opportunity to sign up for those exams in the spring of this year, through the summer, and in the fall of senior year. PSAT was a great opportunity to see what the digital SAT is going to look like. That's what it is now. It is a totally online platform. So students need to think about which exam they want to do, whether it's SAT or ACT. And back on our website, we do have a lot of information that will give you, or we have a link that will bring you to testing companies in our community that will help prepare you to sit for those exams if that's something that you want to do this year or over the summer and the fall of senior year, when you have a better idea of what schools you'll be applying to. So this slide is talking about all that we're going to be doing, and it's going to be a busy spring. The first one, of course, is the Schoollinks presentation in your classes with your counselors. Counselors will be going in on the 29th and working within your AP and US history classes. On February 8th, we will have a group of college representatives. They will be coming from the University of South Carolina, SUNY Oswego, Tufts, Boston College, and Wake Forest to give us insight and ideas about the college admissions experience this year and what students need to keep in mind for next year. It's a great opportunity to ask really candid questions. These admissions reps have been doing this work for years. They are our admissions reps. They're the ones that read our students' applications, so they are wonderfully honest and frank in the information that they share, and I think can really be helpful in understanding what schools are looking for and how they work on admitting students, because that's always what we hear. Colleges are always looking to admit students. So how do we work with you to make sure that we're giving you the best information so that when your applications go out, they're done the best way? As mentioned, individual high school meetings for the juniors are going to be happening in March. Our deadline is to get it done between March 4th and March 14th. That will then allow us to start building a master schedule so that you have an idea of what your senior schedule could look like at the end of this year. College fairs are back, and they are back in person. Southern Westchester Regional College Fair is at the County Center this year, and that's going to be May 1st. It's a free event. It's in the evening as well as the afternoon. There are hundreds of colleges, both from the Northeast and the South and the West, Central, that are there to represent their schools. A bigger one is in New York City at the Javits Fair, and that will be happening in March as well. So we invite students to go out and meet the reps. Those representatives are the ones in charge of the counties. And so it's a great idea to go out there, say hello, and learn about the schools, show interest, or learn about what opportunities are available. College visits is something that Pleasantville High School definitely encourages. We allow up to 4 excused visits a year for college visits, and that's an opportunity to walk the campus, speak with admissions reps, talk to financial aid, meet students on those campuses. So to do an excused visit, come into the guidance office, pick up a form, get it filled out prior to the visit so that it can be logged with the attendance office. You get 4 in junior year and 4 in senior year as well. To support our students in the college application, we have provided for many years, and we work collaboratively with Wendy Freed of WordCraft in the community. She has been doing college essay workshops with our seniors for the last 8 or 9 years that I know of. And she's a wonderful resource. Students really enjoy working with her. And we're lucky enough to have her come into the building and work with our students. Last year, she worked with our junior English classes to present the style of writing that students will need to engage in for the college essay, which is the personal narrative. And she will be doing that again this spring. Dates for those experiences will be coming up, but typically it happens towards the end of May after all the AP exams are done. And then finally, we've found success in working with students over the summer. Towards the end of the summer in August, about a week before school starts, we host common application workshops. And those are opportunities for students to just come in between practices, before school starts, to get a jump start on the college application. College applications will not be completed until senior year, but juniors can start it by taking a look at the common application online. When we meet with you in our meetings, we will talk about it and we will review it with you. Nobody is behind on anything. Everybody's deadlines are different. Everybody's timelines are different. So I don't want anybody sitting in this webinar thinking that they are behind. You're not. You're in a great place to get started. So how do we work together? How can parents support their students? These are our ideas in working with students and families for the last many years. How parents can get involved and support your kids. Help with timelines. We gave you an example of what a timeline looks like in the college admissions handbook, and we encourage families to work together on organizing a timeline. Maybe set aside time once a week or a couple of times a month just to take a look at what's coming up. Schedule those visits to campuses, figure out when and if you're going to be taking any tests that will be needed for admissions. So I think helping with that organization is key. Discuss your expectations, whether it's financial or geographic. I've had students apply and be admitted to schools only to find out that their family will not support it, and it's a heartbreak for everybody. So be frank in those conversations about where you can go and what the finances look like and what the funding is going to be like, so that you're not setting yourselves up for heartbreak and disappointment. As mentioned, visits are important, so work together to set them up and don't overwhelm yourselves on those visits. It's hard to do more than 2 schools on any given day and remember what you've seen. So take it slow, enjoy the campus, help gather families, help gather some resources, and help prepare for that visit by figuring out what kind of questions you might want to ask or what areas you might want to take a look at, such as health services. How far is the nearest hospital? For some families, that was really important. Or study carrels, the library, access to food, both on campus and off campus. All of those things are really important. Be a positive role model. Our kids get our energy. So if we're going into something in a positive way, they will go into that experience in a positive manner. If we're worried or negative about what we're experiencing, our kids will also experience those feelings. So try and be as positive a role model in this experience as much as you can. This is a hard one. Recognizing when to let go and when to connect. We, and me too, as a parent, always want to see our kids be successful and not miss opportunities. And yet this is that one time where students really need to take a lead in the experience. They need to own it. They need to research it. We're going to help them, but they need to be the ones that are going to push forward in these visits and in creating the lists of schools. And you're going to be there to help them so that it's done in a thoughtful manner. When in doubt, communicate with your school counselor. Collectively, we've been doing this for over 20 years. Some of us have been doing this for at least 20 years, if not more. And we can be that helpful resource to you if you have questions about when to visit schools or the kinds of questions you can ask or how to set up an interview if that's something that you want to do. So always talk to us about what your questions might be. We can also assist in helping you do searches for schools and programs. So we're here to help you out as much as we can. Just let us know what you need so that we can work together with you. As mentioned before, keeping a list of questions as they arise, not just for particular schools, but for the process itself. How many applications are you planning on you sending out? Is financial aid something that you're going to be looking for as a family? Is that a question that you want to ask the campuses when you first hit them, or is that something that you want to follow up in an email? Those are all questions that you can ask at any point in time, and I would keep a running list of those questions on like a Google Doc or on a text message so that you have a good sense of what's going on. Or if you have any questions come up, you can go ahead and communicate that to the schools. And then, as mentioned, let your child take the lead in this experience. There have been a lot of trends hitting college admissions, as well as a lot of myths here in college admissions. And so we wanted this opportunity to just tackle a few of them. One of the trends that we're seeing is students are more often, or not more often, but we've seen is an increase of students working with outside counselors and organizations, which is totally a good thing to do if that's what you need. Typically, working with an outside counselor means that the bulk of the application will be done with that person. Hopefully, the college lists will be created in concert with that person if that's what you choose to do. Our only strong suggestion would be that when working with an outside counselor or an organization, to keep the school counselor at Pleasantville aware of what's happening so that we can support you best on the PHS side. Sometimes private counselors have their deadlines so that they can do their work with students, and that doesn't always jive well with the PHS deadlines and paperwork that we also need so that we can make sure that your application goes out in the best way possible. So we'll do more talking about that in senior year, but just a heads up. Early applications, in terms of deadlines and submission dates, this has become a big one. A lot of southern schools have moved to summer applications, and there's a myth out there that if you apply first, you're guaranteed admissions first, and that's just not true in speaking with admissions counselors. And you'll have that opportunity to ask our panelists when they present on February 8th. It's not first one come, first one served in admissions. Early applications will certainly be taken in, and they won't be read until the deadlines are reached or near the deadline. So while we love getting stuff done early, we suggest not doing anything too early, and certainly not without the knowledge of the school counselor, so that we can work with you on making sure that the application is done well, and is truly representative of what your senior year is going to look like before it goes out. Lack of diversity among the college list. This is a big one, meaning back in the day, there was an idea that if you showed all the love to one school, they might love you too, if your grades and your GPA and your activities matched. That doesn't exist anymore. The biggest thing is to really look at diversifying your application list. Taking a look at selective schools to moderately selective schools is an important piece of this. We want you to land in schools that you're going to be happy in, while also increasing your chance of admissions. Schools have experienced an enormous growth in admissions. Schools that had typically received 10,000 applications are now receiving 30,000 applications. And the number of slots that are available have lessened or have remained. They haven't increased. So it feels as if no one's getting in, but in fact, people are getting in when you diversify the list and you look at different programs in different locations, and maybe consider schools that you might not have considered before. This is part of the conversation we want to have with you as you're developing your list and as you're doing your search. This is why getting out onto campuses is really important, so that you can meet with the reps and talk with them about what they're looking for in a first year class. So doing diversity of the list is so important. Standardized testing has become optional, and it really is optional for many of the schools. Now, more competitive programs may want to see them, or if you present a very competitive program with solid SAT or ACT scores, it certainly can't hurt your application. It can only lend strength to it. So that's something that you should be having a conversation with your counselor about. But again, they are optional, and if a school says they're optional, the rep will stand by that statement, and they will not look for those scores. So a myth out there has been that if you're a kid from Westchester County and you're not presenting SAT or ACT scores, then there's something wrong with your application. And I'm afraid that's just not true. There are a variety of reasons why people aren't presenting scores, and no one in admissions is stopping to think what's wrong with you. They're just moving on with what's right with you, so that we can look at the rest of your application. So keep that in mind as you start planning, and if you plan on taking those standardized exams. Always take a look at college websites for admissions requirements. They really tell the truth on what they're looking for in terms of candidacy. So sometimes it's really hard to discern what makes the perfect candidate. Looking at the website, calling admissions, that's how you get the best information, speaking to the reps as well. Letters of recommendation, big myth out there. The more you throw out there, the more likely they are to want you or like you, because you have so many letters of recommendation. Not true. The stark reality is that for all of the work that you're going to put into doing an application, college admissions may have about 10 minutes to review your file. So when I say that, it's not to scare, but to be thoughtful, meaning put your best foot forward always. A letter of recommendation should really come from 1 or 2 teachers max, that know you well and can add to your file. And when I say know you well, it's talk about your academic profile, who you are as a student, how you give to that class, how you engage with the material, what do you do when it's hard, how do you handle a low grade? All of that is part of the letter of recommendation. So I urge juniors to think about who do they think could write a good letter on their behalf for both. And also you'd want letters from either junior or senior year teachers. Those are the letters that college admissions want. Sometimes students think if I give them an alumni letter, that's going to help out really big. And again, it goes back to what's going to represent you best. Alumni letter could help depending on what that alumnus has to say about you as a student, not necessarily you as a person. So there's a distinction there. And again, it's about crafting the best application, which is why we want to work with you on that. And then finally, the student profile, depth versus breadth. What does that mean? What it means is schools, and they've said this to us many times, and I invite you to ask this question of the panel, they are not looking for students who do every activity or join every National Honor Society. They're looking for the ones that are involved in the activities, in the sports, in the volunteer work that is genuine to them, that they enjoy, so that they get to know them best. It is disingenuous when admissions committees take a look at resumes or activity profiles that have absolutely everything under the sun, because honestly, how much time can you give to 20 activities when there are only 24 hours in the day? So again, we urge students to think about how are they best spending their time? What are the activities that are most meaningful for them? And for those juniors who haven't started doing anything that they find of interest, time to start looking. Find something that interests you, or find a job, something that fills your time outside of school. Because we know that there's time for study, but there should also be time for other experiences as well. So that was a lot of information packed into a very short amount of time. And we invite you to go ahead and ask any questions that you might have about the work that we will be doing with your juniors as we move forward. As Mrs. Thomas and I have said, this is the jumpstart. So this presentation is an overview. Through the year, we'll be giving you information via email updates, as well as information in the senior year to keep you abreast of what's happening and what the trends are at that point in time. So if there's any questions now, we're more than happy to answer them for you. Okay. I see no questions. Okay.
I'm gonna just, throw out a question just to see if maybe someone else is thinking of the same question.
Sure.
I know a lot of families are asking, which is very legitimate in today's day and age, how do students find scholarships? So I'll just give a little overview on how a student would look for scholarships. Scholarships are definitely given in a multitude of different ways. Some scholarships are actually offered by if you just apply to the school. So once you apply to the school, when you get your letter of admission back, a lot of times they will give you scholarship offers. There are some schools that will not release any scholarships until you fill out the FAFSA, which is the financial aid form that you need to fill out. So that's another way to figure out if you qualify for scholarships. There are also school-specific scholarships. So when you are applying to school, you can take a look and you can see if there's any school-specific scholarships that you can apply for. Like, for example, there are STEM scholarships given out. There's scholarships for students that do business, that kind of thing. So there's definitely scholarship opportunities there. We get local scholarships into our office, typically in the spring. Different local organizations will award scholarships to students. And, we realize that, listen, the students are really doing a lot of work. The process is really lengthy, but we do feel like, if it's something that you're looking for, if you just can write that extra essay, put in the extra time, a lot of times you can get a lot more scholarships than you would think. So that's important. We do actually have a question, and the question is, are Regents and midterm grades,
Oh, here we go. Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
that's okay, are Regents and midterm grades on final transcripts? So that's a great question, and that's something that we're actually sending out now for our seniors. At the end of second quarter, we give a average of the first and second quarter, with the midterm being 10%, and we blend it. So they will never see a midterm grade on your transcript. There are no midterm or Regents grades on your transcript. We suppress all of those. All you see are final averages in each course and your GPA. So that's
Okay.
what that is.
The next question is, do parents attend the March meeting with guidance office or just a student? It's whatever the family decides. Some students want to meet on their own with us. Some students would like to meet with a parent. Now, with the advent of Zoom, are happy to meet with a student in the office and the parent on the Zoom if that's what you want to do. So it's whatever works for your family. And it's not a one and done meeting. That's just the initial meeting. And then as students need more information or just want to check in through the year, we invite that. And we're all very happy to meet with families throughout the process.
There's another question asking, is there a way to find out when colleges will be having open houses besides going to each college website individually? I mean, there are times that colleges will post that information or we will post that information, but the best way to really do it is to go on the different colleges' websites. There's certainly the college fairs, and I know they give a lot of information about their open houses at the college fairs, but you can also get a wealth of information on each school's website. So I say that that's probably the best place to look, and that's kind of how you sign up for them. It's important that you sign up for the open houses so that colleges know that you have, a demonstrated interest, and that's something that they record and a lot of times look at in the application process.
Okay. For ED, what grades would be shown on the transcripts of ED applications? So ED is early decision. So early decision is when a student applies to one school as a promise to attend if they were to be accepted. So when a student applies ED, the only grades that we send are the ones that have been finalized on the transcript at the end of junior year. So that's why we review all the transcripts with you at the start of senior year to make sure everything is in line before we send it out. So with an ED application, typically you would be accepted, denied, or deferred based on the merits of that 3-year GPA, that 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade. And if you've taken any middle school classes for high school credit, that would be there as well. Sometimes some schools in the ED process will ask for first quarter grades. If that were the case, then we would send it at the close of first quarter, which happens after Halloween, usually by the end of the first week in November. That's for the ED1 candidates, and the same stays true for the ED2 candidates as well.
There's another question. How do I find out when colleges are coming to visit the high school?
Great
There's a
question.
number of different ways that we do that because we do want students and encourage students to attend these visits. We have the list of visits on our guidance door. We have the list of visits on School Links. We make daily announcements about which college are attending our school to visit with students, and we also put it on our Instagram page. So we definitely put it out there to students in a variety of different modalities.
The majority of the visits will be happening in September and October. By mid-November, they lessen. So typically the admissions reps are not coming into the high schools in the spring, which is why we would suggest go out and visit them at the county center when they're doing their fair. The next question is about letters of recommendation. When do students start asking their teachers for recommendations? Junior year or senior year? So this is a great one. It's both. Juniors should start thinking about their letters of recommendation and then ask if a teacher would be willing to write it, but then they have to follow up at the start of senior year. Most teachers won't write over the summer, but they will certainly write for the student in the fall when we all get back to school. We encourage students to ask for one teacher letter of recommendation. What we have found is that most schools will only look for one solid letter of recommendation. Some will require two, and the guidance letter is a required part of the application. So we're going to ask you guys to do some work for us over the summer or towards the end of junior year so that we can be ready to write letters for you as well. So start thinking about what teacher you would like to have write for you, and then ask them at the end of the year and follow up with them in senior year. And it should be a teacher that's had you either this year or will have you next year.
Okay, are there any other questions that anyone may have? Okay, at this time, we're going to conclude our presentation. We thank you all for attending, and we feel like this is a very important time in your child's life. I'm sure, there are going to still be more questions that you may have, and we encourage you to contact your child's counselor to set up meetings and ask any questions that you have about the process. Thank you so much, and I wish you all a wonderful evening.